What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Eric Wilson. Today, joined with my co-host, Will Cohen. Today, we're going to be discussing 3 changes that the Rangers need to make before the 2024 playoffs do begin. They only have 3 games left. Before that day does arrive, the playoffs start in less than 2 weeks, 10 days from the time of this recording. And, the Rangers, they are doing really good, still the number 1 team in the NHL. But after that last game last night against the Islanders, our eyes were kind of opened. We're not going to overreact over one game, but man, that game was pretty pathetic. And as much as we are confident in this team, I think there are still a few minor tweaks that need to be made in order to really solidify this team enough to make a very strong push for the Stanley Cup. So we're going to get right on into that. But before we do, make sure you guys like, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss notification. If you're watching this on Apple or Spotify, be sure to give us a 5-star review. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. If you were Peter Laviolette, would you make any of the changes that we're about to talk about, or would you keep things the same? Lastly, be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Fireside Rangers. But before we really get into things, Will, how are you doing today? And if you have any comments about last night's game, now is the time to give them.
I'm doing good. I really didn't care about last night's game. Like the only thing what I was most worried about in last night's game was Mika when he went down and he came back on the bench at the end of the game. So that's really all I cared about was everyone being healthy. Obviously, Lindgren also went down. He went into the locker room. He came back out, but everyone's healthy after that game. Like I don't care about the outcome.
Yeah, I mean, Kreider's another name that got hurt. Rangers kept dropping like flies. But at the very end of the game, dangerous missed call against Vincent Trocheck was boarded completely, went face first into the boards. I don't know. Trocheck got a little.
Dude, I thought he was gonna swing at Kelly Sutherland. Like he was in his face. Like that was crazy. I've never seen Trocheck like that before.
Yeah, that little Italian guy Trocheck had a little bit of a Sopranos moment where he thought he was going to whack the ref really quick, but luckily he didn't. So Trocheck will continue playing in the NHL and not in a prison beer league. But I don't know, frustrating game. I think that hit from Pelech against Zibanejad completely accidental in my opinion. I know that Laviolette called it a vicious play by Pelech, but I don't really see it that way as much as I hate the Islanders. Yeah, I think it was an accident. Both players looking the wrong way. Yeah. That's Mika's fault. Pick your head up. Look at where you're skating. Like, come on. But that's our hot take of the day. But let's get into some hotter takes. 3 changes the Rangers need to make before the playoffs begin in 10 days. The first one that I'm going to bring up, probably the biggest one, is the fact that the Rangers really need to just make a change in their defense. I mean, most of what we're talking about today is about defense, but the biggest one of all, the Jacob Trouba and K'Andre Miller pairing. It needs to end. Like, they're just so bad for each other. There have been moments in this season where both players have shined on their own. I mean, when Trouba was injured recently, K'Andre Miller was playing some of the best hockey of his career with Braden Schneider. But then now Trouba comes back, the pairing is back, and the defense, not even just last night against the Islanders, but the last couple of games has just been abysmal. And at some point, I know we like to praise Laviolette for never overreacting, never changing the lines as frequently as Gerard Gallant did. But man, at this point, I don't trust that pairing. I really don't, and I don't want to see them together. If it's a game 7, like overtime in the Stanley Cup Finals, and those two are on the ice, I'm scared. I'm genuinely scared.
I'd be in the fetal position, shaking uncontrollably.
I know one of them is going to make a mistake. Trouba had some pretty bad plays last night, too. He's had a lot of bad plays recently, and I don't want to put the blame on our captain because I know the last time we made a video calling out Jacob Trouba for his recent play, everyone in the comments came after us saying how we don't know what we're talking about, the fact that the hate for Trouba is not deserved because of how good of a captain he is. We're not talking about his captaincy. We're not talking about his leadership. He's a phenomenal captain. The way that he could elevate the vibes of the locker room and get the players in order, perfect. I love that. But being a good captain doesn't directly translate to being a good hockey player. And if we're talking about the last 2 weeks, Jacob Trouba has not been a good hockey player. So hate to break it to you guys, but that pairing needs to be broken up. But Will, I'll let
You
you.
know what? I just want to say something in regards to all those people that came at us. If we were talking about Keandre Miller instead, they would agree with us. So it's a little hypocritical in my opinion. Jacob Trouba is not the best defenseman. All right. Like he's a great captain, but you can separate a captain and his play. Like you can be a very good leader and not be the best player on the ice. And Jacob Trouba coming back, yeah, he was injured 2 weeks ago. But if if he's still injured and harboring that injury, you're close enough to the playoffs where just let him rest so he is fully healthy for the playoffs. That's the best thing. But you're not. So honestly, you got to maybe give him sheltered minutes that like on the third line, break up that pairing. And then when he's fully healthy, you keep Miller and Schneider together, but then you just balance out the lines and or not balance out the lines, you balance out the minutes. So there's not really a 1, 2, and 3 pairing. It's just like they all just, play not equal amount of minutes because you can't give someone more minutes than fucking Adam Fox. Oh, my apologies. Sorry. That just completely slipped out of my mouth. But kind of balance the lineups, balance the pairing. So, it makes it so much easier because Trouba and Miller cannot play anymore. Like Miller was playing his best hockey in a while when he was playing with Schneider, and it continued. Like it was for 2 weeks. Like he looked great. He was scoring offensively. He was doing very well in his own end, which I know a lot of people had a lot of criticism about prior to the trade deadline. But yeah, no, you have to split up the Miller and Trouba pairing. And like you said, in the playoffs, in a game 7, if it goes into overtime and I see those two on the ice, like I said before, I'm in a fetal position now. I'm shaking with my thumb in my mouth and a
I
blanket.
wouldn't be confident. I would not be confident anyway
Yeah.
whatsoever. But let's move on to the second change that the Rangers might need to make before the playoffs start. Another defensive one. You might catch the trend here. It's take Erik Gustafsson out of the lineup and put in Zach Jones. It's that simple. I think we like to hate on Trouba. We like to hate on Miller. But I think overall, the worst defenseman that we've seen recently, easily Erik Gustafsson. And it's such a shame to say because when we first signed him in last offseason, it was a very low risk, high reward deal. Like I think close to league minimum, if not league minimum. And then he just came out of nowhere, started the season. He was scoring points. He was playing great defense. And we were like, oh my God, this was like the signing of the year. And then all of a sudden, just something fell apart. And now every time Gustafsson touches the puck, he either turns it over or tries to make an offensive play and then turns it over. And like he shoots it, he misses the net, he's taking penalties. And everything we say about Trouba, everything you guys say about Miller, Gustafsson does that, but so much worse. And then you look at Zach Jones here, who would have ever thought we'd be like praising him for a playoff lineup. But when Trouba did have that injury, Jones was the guy that filled in, and all of a sudden, he looks like an NHL regular player. I saw the best hockey in Zach Jones's life in those few weeks that Trouba was gone, and then of course Trouba comes back, Jones out of the lineup, and everything's messed up again. So just first break up that pairing of Trouba and Miller. Then take Gustafsson, who's basically become like a cancer to this lineup defensively, remove him, and then just put Zach Jones right back in. It's that simple. That's we were playing good defense without Jacob Trouba when our defense wasn't fully healthy. Now all of a sudden we are fully healthy, and we're not playing good, and it sucks. We're not playing good defense. So that's my take. Take out Gustafsson, throw in Zach Jones. Gustafsson has, in a perfect world, last game would have been Erik Gustafsson's last game as a New York Ranger. Let Jones play the rest of the season. Let him play the playoffs. But whatever happens in the playoffs, in the offseason, goodbye, Gustafsson.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion. I hate to say it, but it's come to that. It really has. But
I loved Gus. Like he like you said, he came in and once Adam Fox went down in November. I think so. Yeah, November. Gustafsson stepped up and he played very well and he was scoring points. And obviously, being on the power play 1, it's going to be a lot easier to score points because you have like guys like Panarin, Zibanejad, Trocheck, Kreider. But And like you also said, he was playing great defensively, but somewhere along the way, I don't know what happened. He's just, like you said, he is just a liability when he's on the ice. And Zach Jones was not in the 2 weeks he was in the lineup. He was good in the offensive zone. He was good in the neutral zone. He was good in the defensive zone. And another thing I liked about Zach Jones's game is sometimes he would step up and become that first, basically like a forward, and it would allow the Rangers to create more offense in the offensive zone because you had, your defenseman stepping up. So now you're kind of creating an odd man rush. Sometimes you're creating an odd man rush, a 3-on-2, stuff like that. It's just, keeping the puck in the zone and everything like that. And I don't know. If it's not going to be Jones, at least put Ruedel in, because you have two options that are scratches that are better defensively than Gustafsson. Like, you can put Jones in, but if you're not, like, if Laviolette's unsure about his, how he's going to perform in the playoffs, put Ruedel in. Put somebody in for Gustafsson, because I can't keep watching him play defense, and I can't keep watching him on this team. Like, I'm sorry, Eric Gustafsson, if you're seeing this, I do love you, and I bet you're a really nice guy, but it just hurts my eyes, and I'm very sorry.
I'm not sorry. Play better hockey, dude.
I didn't want to be as harsh.
I'm sure he's a great guy, of course. I would love to hang out with him. Maybe we'll get him on the channel one of these days.
Not after this.
not after this, but you're not playing good hockey, dude. I'm sorry. Yeah. Zach Jones played better hockey this season.
I can't say what I was going to say. I just caught myself.
There you go.
Just like on defense, you need to catch yourself when you're about to commit a freaking turnover, man. You got to catch yourself.
Literally. But let's stray away from the Gustafsson slander. We've said all the stats we needed to say. We don't got to get spiteful.
I'm sorry, Gus.
But the third and final change the Rangers need to make before the playoffs. This one is less specific. The first one, very, very direct. Break up that pairing. Put this player in over another. This is just a general piece of advice for you. We got to play better defense overall earlier on in games. The amount of times we have seen this number one team in the NHL, by the way, play terribly in the first period, enter the second down by 2 or 3 goals, and then have to come back in the second and third. It's ridiculous. And, props to the Rangers because they are able to make these comebacks. But there are certain games like last night where you enter the second period down 3-0 to a team that has 20 points less than you in the standings, and you're not able to come back from it. And, I've said it a lot. I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to keep saying it until it changes. That record that the Rangers hold for like the last 3 seasons in a row with the most comeback wins, I hate that record with all my heart. Sure, it's cool because it's a record with our name on it, but why do you want the most comeback wins? Why do you ever want to be proud of the fact that you found yourself down in a game? The Rangers last night against the Islanders, they dominated in the second and third period, but they had to make a 3-goal comeback to win because of how bad they played in the first defensively. If they take the way that they play in periods 2 and 3 and they just do it in the first period like any normal contender would, they wouldn't have that stupid record and they wouldn't have lost last night. Like, it blows my mind to see the Rangers play so good in the final 40 minutes of a game and then look like trash cans on the ice in the first 20. It doesn't make any sense. And I think this is just a problem that only relates to the Rangers. No other team in the NHL has this problem as consistently as the Rangers do, I should say. Sorry to get this heated, but it just blows my mind. And this is the type of stupid problem that's going to make us become first-round exits again if it doesn't change. Imagine round 1, we end up playing the Lightning. Like, we're going to enter period 2 down by 5 instead of 3 against, like, the crappy Islanders. Like, I don't know. It infuriates me. I'm still mad about last night, so I'm a little passionate.
Yeah. Like I said, like earlier, I wasn't too mad about last night. Like, if they played like they did in periods 2 and 3, and if they played like periods 2 and 3 in the first period, they would have shut out the Islanders. Like, the Islanders had literally no offense for the last 40 minutes of the game. Like, literally the last 40 minutes. I'm not like just saying that. Like, the last 40 minutes, they had no offense until they scored that empty net goal. Like, they could not get set up in their offensive zone. Like, it's awesome that the Rangers can come back, but if you dig yourself a hole in the playoffs, it's a completely different type of game because teams get more like they just defend better in the playoffs. Like they get more tight as a group defensively. They're not going to allow you to come back the way the Rangers did last night. You're not going to be able to dominate like you did last night in the playoffs. Maybe they will. I mean, that might be like really stupid and people might come at me for that. But like if you're playing the Lightning, a tight-knit defensive group, you're going to be screwed if you go down 3-0 in the first period. And it was awesome that the Rangers did, dominate the second and third periods, but come playoff time, you have to play a full 60-minute game. And I feel like I think I can count on my hands the amount of times the Rangers played a full complete 60-minute game this year. And that's not good. I don't care about a record like you said. I don't.
Yeah, it's been ridiculous. It's every season. It's not even this one. It spans back last season and the season before that. Just the way that they just come out, play terribly, and then they mount some like heroic comeback. I mean, like this season, before last night, the last time we played the Islanders was in the Stadium Series. We say that's one of the best games of the season, but I think really a lot of that just comes from the fact that it happened in the Stadium Series. If we had to mount that insane comeback in just a regular season game, I probably would have been really annoyed and like less hyped than I am about it, just because of like how monumental of a game it was. Like no reason the Rangers should ever have fallen that far behind the Islanders. Absolutely ridiculous. And we lose a lot of games because of it. We are before last night. Last game we lost was against the Penguins, I think. Again, another team that we really should have beaten. A lot of our losses this season have come against.
Did they go down 2-0 in the first period of that game too?
Yeah. A lot of our losses come against really bad teams, and it's because we just play down to them, don't play good defensively against them, and then they catch us like that. And then all of a sudden it's halfway through the game, and the Rangers are down 3-0. And sure, maybe they'll score 1 or 2 in the third, but it's not enough to mount the comeback. So I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'm getting too heated. I'm ready to wrap this up.
I just think they just come out flat in the first period, and in the second and third period they dominate. And sometimes you can play good enough defensively, like when you're flat. That like in the game against the Bruins, they only went down 1-0, and then they beat what did they win, like 4-2 that game? No, 5-2. Yeah, 5-2. Like there's times where you can come out flat and still play good defensively, but that was not the case yesterday. They just came out flat, and all facets of their game sucked. So, it come playoff time, I feel like it'll be, hopefully it's fixed. I know it's in a week, and it's probably like it's probably just gonna be the same, but I think it'll be fine come playoff time. Hopefully, I know it's only 10 days, but.
And we're always fine. Right. Historically, the Rangers are never fine. But we'll be fine. This is the year. It's a historic year. Rangers control their own destiny at this point. They play against 3 very easy opponents to end the year. Tomorrow we got the Flyers. Then we got the Islanders again. And then we got the Senators. President's Trophy is right there. It's up to the Rangers to go and grab it. Also, just want to say before I wrap things up, after the way that last night went, I do think that Rempe is probably going to play on Saturday. It might be time for one final Rempe mania to just, whether the Pelech thing was intentional or not, Matt Rempe has a date with him, and I'm excited to see what happens. But we'll see. But that about wraps up today's discussion. Thank you to everyone for watching. Please get active in the comment section below. I know that we said a lot of controversial things tonight. Hopefully some of you will agree, but I have that feeling that a lot of you won't. So let us know how you're feeling about all of the things we said the Rangers need to change down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss a notification. If you're watching us on Apple or Spotify, be sure to give us a 5-star review. And lastly, be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Fireside Rangers. Have a good one, and let's go Rangers.
Let's go Rangers.